All right, it's about time we started talking about some functions. So let's see. So previously, in your other calculus courses and algebra and pre-calc and whatever, you were looking at a function where you had y as a function of x. So this is a real valued, in other words, one number comes out, function of a real variable, one single real variable. So in this class, I would denote this by saying f is a function from R to R, indicating that it takes one input. So the fact that there's a 1 that we don't write right here corresponds to the fact that there is one input, and there's a 1 here that we don't typically write, and that corresponds to the fact that there's one output. Okay, and so such a function looks like this, right? Here's x, and then here's your function f. Okay, so now we're going to look at something where maybe things are a bit more different. So we might have that z is a function of x1 and x2, or x and y, depending on whatever notation that you're using at the time. And so something like this, now we're talking about a function from, when we're taking two variables, we're mapping from the plane R2, and there's a one variable output, and so the domain looks like R2, so here's x1, x2, and then here's the output, we'll just call it the f-axis. And then depending on what region of the plane you're looking at, maybe we're looking at this patch right here, then the output of the function is going to appear as some surface floating above, something like that. Okay? And if we want to go higher, if we want to do something like a function on R3, so a function of 3 variables, well, now look what's going on. We've got 3 inputs plus 1 output is 4, which means we would need a 4-dimensional axis. So we can't draw it, we can't graph it. So we'll be talking about other ways of visualizing such a function or understanding it, because graphing just ain't going to work anymore. So let's encapsulate this discussion. When I say f is a function from Rn to Rm, this means that it has n input variables and that it has m output variables. So for example, if I had something like a function from R2 to R3 by say f of x, y is, and then so my first component function might be like x squared minus 1, and then my next one is x, y minus cosine x, and then my next one is 1 plus e to the xy, something goofy like this. Then I have two, actually, you know what, here, let's stick with keeping the inputs as blue. So I've got 2 input variables, and I've got 3 output variables. So here's f1 of x and y, here's f2 of x and y, and here's f3 of x and y. And so there are 3 output variables. An output variable is sort of a goofy colloquial slang name. Really what they would be called is component functions. Sounds fancy. Component functions.